can meet Brock, Misty, Ash, and of course Pikachu as the action hits the stage at the Fox Theater. Wanna catch 'em all? Gotta catch it live. Pokemon Live.
Coming to you live from my mom's basement, this is the Animation Ambiance podcast. Alright, welcome back to the Animation Ambiance podcast. I'm Eric, and this is my co-host.
Troy, hello.
Hello, Troy. How are you today?
Good. Yourself?
I am good. So, I know you told me beforehand you haven't been up to much lately, but do you have anything to add from what's been going on?
I beat the Spider-Man game, and that's about it.
Was it everything you could have ever asked for?
It was. I can't wait for the sequel. In all honesty, it is. I mean, especially after talking about Spider-Verse and everything with Miles and such, it gets Miles involved in the end, and it sets him up for the sequel. So it's.
Is there any Peter Porker?
No, there's no Peter Porker. There's no.
He needs a spin-off game. I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic of video games and pertaining to our topic today, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which is a so-so game. I think half of it is kind of an improvement, and then half of it is just a giant downgrade. Have you played it before?
No, I do not have a Switch. I've been meaning to get one. But Smash Bros. Would have been the driving thing to get me a Switch, but a lot of my friends got it, so I just go over and play them. And the fact that Pokemon Let's Go was simply a remake of a past game didn't necessarily drive me to get it, but once the new generation of Pokemon comes out exclusively for the Switch, I'll probably cave. But I've not played the Let's Go games now.
No, see, it's an improvement. Like I said, there's some really cool updates. Cut and Flash are no longer TMs, or I'm sorry, HMs. Now they're just something that Eevee or Pikachu, depending on what game you have, just learn, and they can use it any time, but they're not necessarily an attack, that's kind of cool because I never wanted to teach my Pokemon Cut or Flash to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
So, that was a nice update. Otherwise, it's just... There is a lot of repeat. It makes up for it by the fact that it looks beautiful and it sounds beautiful, which is... It's just very welcoming.
Yeah.
Kanto is a very, warm and, cuddly region for me where I feel at home, but... some parts, have you played Pokemon Go? Probably. Yeah, so, it's the catching mechanics for Pokemon Go, and you don't get to battle wild Pokemon, so it's almost what the fuck is the point?
Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews on that front.
Yeah, and the motion controls are really bad. Alright, I embrace the idea that they want people to actually feel like they're throwing Pokeballs on their own, but it's goddamn, I would just rather push a button than actually, throwing my controller at the TV, which is kind of obnoxious, but otherwise, I'm gonna finish it through anyway, so I guess they suckered me into it, but, it does do some things right, but some things not so right.
Yeah, that's kind of my outlook on the Pokemon series, and I as far as a game franchise is I know this has been run into the ground, but it's the quote unquote dumbing down of it, and I get it's a kids game, but the last one that I played was Sun, and I have like Ultra Sun unpackaged.
Hmm.
But like where it's like they're at the point of like giving you waypoints now and such, and it's like
Yeah.
what like part of the fun was like, exploring, I thought, and such,
Yeah.
and finding the new path. And I get that like other games always give you waypoints, but it's like I never really felt like Pokemon had it. I never felt like it's like, darn, I got lost in this cave. Guess I'm not playing this again. It's like, so I don't
Yeah.
know as far as like that goes, because I know the argument's always like, well, it is a game for kids, and it's like, well, it always has been and such,
Yeah.
and it's like,
That never changed.
yeah,
You know.
it's like, are you inciting that kids are just getting stupider, or
Yeah.
less engaged, or what? So
I actually stopped at black and white.
that's my favorite,
so,
personal favorite.
Yeah. Oh, really? Awesome. I can't speak for like the following two games, but I can definitely tell in Let's Go that there is a lot of dumbing down, which kind of frustrates me in the sense that like, all right, if you, I don't know if it's just for Eevee or Pikachu. I think it's also your other Pokemon. There will be instances where your Pokemon should have fainted, but it will say like, "Oh, Eevee stuck it out because she doesn't want to disappoint you," which is like, on the one hand, it's like, "Oh, that's kind of cute," but on the other hand, it's like, "No, like I should have lost right now. It's not.
You should be dead.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I want this to be fair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
It's like
I get that. Yeah, I get that feeling with the rivals too. Where it's gone from like rivals being like a challenge, like yeah, it's like screw you, Gary, I want to kick your ass, to like you feel bad for winning like every time because you're like beating up like your only friend in the world and stuff. They're like, oh wow, well you're so much better than me. It's like I don't want to be. It's like Jesus.
And it's like, yeah, the rivals are way too nice and friendly, and it's like, God, I don't want to lose you as a friend over this. Like, I understand. I guess. I mean, I guess the '90s were a different time than how society is progressing now, so it's like less cutthroat. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think they're making it a little too safe. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a game about basically like basement dog fights in the most cutesy way possible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Occasionally some of the
Yeah.
dogs have the ability to end the world if they so choose. But yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to add there?
No, but it certainly can be applied to the animation to the show itself, because I do believe that the show has been going in a similar direction to the games as far as getting away from what it originally was for the sake of safety and such.
Yeah, I have caught a couple episodes of Sun and Moon, and it is very, like, different. Very silly and very tame. I don't want to say that as if it's a bad thing, because I don't know if it's a bad thing. Like, I generally think the animation style is kind of admirable for its change of pace, but in general, I don't know if I could say for sure, like, whether I dig it or not.
Yeah, I've only seen like I think like 1 or 2 episodes of Sun and Moon. I only the one that I know I saw for sure was they got like Misty and Brock back for like an episode, or they like they take like a field trip like back to Kanto, and Ash like finally actually beats Misty, which I give the writers credit for like keeping that 20-year-old storyline where he's never actually like successfully gotten the badge from her. She kind of just gave it to him, and so he like,
You know what they are good at that, just throwing in these little continuing
oh yeah.
story arcs in terms of like shit that the kids today don't even, I mean, unless they go back and watch the old episodes, they probably aren't getting, but the occasional longtime fan who would want to see it, they still throw that in for them, which I think is really nice.
Yeah. It's admirable. But the last season that I think I like really watched was probably when Diamond and Pearl was airing on Cartoon Network. And
Yes.
then I've seen a little bit of Black and White, which from I guess what I've seen is like a very controversial season. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
and then I've seen a little. I actually started watching X and Y because I heard it was like good, like actually like
Hmm.
people like recommended it to me, and then I stopped because I wasn't too much of a fan of it. It was the premise of like at least what I got was they kind of frame it as Serena, who is the token female uh, sidekick to Ash for that season, as well as I think Clement is the token other one. So they frame like Serena as the actually like another main character instead of just like another one of Ash's sidekicks at
Right.
first, and they like set up like she has like some like background with Ash, and he doesn't realize it, and then it's just like revealed within like 7 episodes that it's like he helped her out of the woods once in Kanto, but he doesn't remember her. And it's actually like funny how they like present it is like she's hung up for 7 straight episodes. She's like, "Wow, I wonder if he remembers me." And like she asks, and he's like, "Who? No," and then he just walks away. Um, so
Was that the season where Ash like has a romantic interest?
yeah, I think X and Y goes 3 seasons long, and so yeah, by the end they
Hmm.
I think they do establish it, but it
Oh, that's it. That's really
so yeah,
interesting.
it's interesting that they do actually like try to set that up and like actually try something new and such, but of
Yeah.
course it ends like all Pokemon seasons end where well I guess I lost the Pokemon League again, and because of that I have to leave all of my friends behind. Goodbye. And so
Yeah.
she goes off to a completely separate region on her own, despite like claiming she's like, I want to be just like you, Ash, which is why I'm going across the
Oh
world.
God.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
Which is why I'm leaving you and we'll never see you
yeah,
again.
maybe you'll see me in 6 seasons in like a flashback or something. Um,
Yeah.
so, or maybe I'm just still salty that we haven't really gotten Brock back as a main character in how many years has it been? I need more drying pans in my
It's
life.
been like 8 years, probably more than that.
Yeah, since Diamond and
Maybe
Pearl. That's
9 years.
coincidence. I think not. I stopped watching when Brock left. Um,
I actually started watching about halfway through Diamond and Pearl because I think even child me. I mean, I had gone through the entirety of Hoenn at this point. That was the first full Pokemon series I watched, and then I would go back and watch Kanto and Johto. Um, but after going through the entirety of Hoenn, I was just like, this is the same shit.
yep.
Like nothing new is happening.
Yeah.
This is the same shit I watched before. So I think that was kind of the turning point for
Yep.
me.
Yep. And every time
Yeah.
they try to like
So
frame it, it always ends the same. Like they always build
Yeah.
up the league battles, and he always loses. I remember the uproar with X and Y because I think I'm pretty sure that was the one where it was like really looking like he was going to win, and then he didn't, inevitably. So, but they really teased it.
well, that's. I feel like that is Pokemon's kind of the king at teasing.
Oh yeah.
Shifts in continuity, like Team Rocket in Black and White, where they were serious and dark villains for like 20
Yeah,
episodes,
that's the part
and
of
then they're
Black and White that I watch because I'm pretty sure James is like my favorite character. Other, of course,
Yeah.
Brock. But I, because like I watched them, like oh my god, they're taking these guys somewhere. And then I guess like Cartoon Network didn't air the episodes or something because they had a showdown with Team Plasma. It was like Team Rocket versus
I
like
think
the
that-
other big bad, but then you can't find those in America, or am I mistaken?
No, you're right. There was some kind of natural disaster during the time where I think Cartoon Network chose not to air them for whatever reason. Uh, Something within I'm gonna have to look that up like by the end of this, but I think something happened where there was some reference to like toxic waste or something, and I have no idea. It was a complicated issue, and I think Cartoon Network just chose to pull them all together.
Oh, okay. Well, darn, because I guess that was like the only story development that we were gonna get in a few years.
Yeah, exactly.
Missed it again. But I'm trying to think like if there's ever been like any like actual like monumental change other than simply Ash switching out partners for, I guess, carbon copies of it. I know that's also like a controversial topic, but I can speak just about Black and White. I know the partners is Iris and I think his name's Cillian, who's the gym leader and such. But it's a lot of people were like, this is just knockoff Misty and Brock. One's the first gym leader who likes cooking, and the other one is another gym leader who is really sassy and kind of has like a gruff relationship with Ash. They meet because they got into a fight and such, and she's kind of like begrudgingly helping him. And they're like, "That's just Misty again," with a different.
I mean,
Pokemon.
they always kind of try and pull the same archetype, but with a different character. I guess the only major changes I can think of, I think Black and White just in terms of, I think Black and White and then Sun and Moon just in terms of tone for the series. Like, up to Diamond and Pearl, it was kind of, even after 4Kids like shut down, it was still very much a 4Kid show by the end of Diamond and Pearl. And then Black and White, they had what I'm pretty sure is just to the score from Japan, and just they kind of rolled with this different, like, slightly less silly tone and slightly less, I don't want to say child friendly because I don't think it got any less child friendly, but I think there's just a noticeable difference between if you watch an episode of Diamond and Pearl versus an episode of Black and White.
Yeah, you can see that. So that's the show. What's the last movie that you watched from Pokemon? Because they have like new movies every year. I think they're still doing it.
What's the Manaphy? Is that the name of the Pokemon?
I know that is a Pokemon,
legendary...
but I'm not recognizing the movie title. This is, oh boy.
Oh god. The first Diamond and Pearl movie, the one where May, it's literally just the Jirachi movie, except with May.
Okay. Oh, is that the got Pokemon Ranger? Or no, is that?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. No, it's not Pokemon Ranger. It's, I'm trying to. There's like these villains that could actually be, you know what? I'm just gonna save myself from sounding dumb. It's the first, it's the first Diamond and Pearl movie, and it's got the blue Manaphy, the Pokemon, and May like has an attachment with it, and then they have to like find a jewel or something. This literally just sounds like every science fiction movie ever, but it probably is. But yeah, that was the last one I saw, and then I've seen bits of the Mewtwo one, the newer one.
Oh, like the reboot one, because they like, I think
Yes.
okay, because the movies are now in a different continuity than the show is. So from what I understand is, okay, yeah, as of 2017, they like soft rebooted it where Sun and Moon continues the Ash that we've been following for the past however many years, but the movies is like in an they just like call it like alternate timeline and stuff where, oh god, what was it, where like Ash doesn't get the rainbow feather? Was that it? I think that was like the explanation, like the main change of it.
Oh, is like that the Pokemon I Choose You
that's it.
movie series? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I have not seen that movie yet. Have you? I do want to.
I have not. I do kind of want to, but at the same time, I saw the thing where they have Pikachu talking it.
Oh my god, that was the dumbest.
And it's not
thing.
anything that you think it'll sound like.
Yeah.
And when you think to yourself, Ryan Reynolds is actually a better fit for Pikachu's voice than
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. It was,
No, I will see Detective Pikachu the first day it comes out, but I am pushing off Pokemon I Choose You till probably the day I
yeah,
die.
yeah,
And just it goes back to what we were saying, just kind of about the formula as a whole, which I mean, we didn't really plan on being in the formula discussion right now, but I think we inadvertently just got into it. Um, yeah. Um, and I think it goes back to what we were saying about the games, what we have been saying about the show. It's just, I feel like it's more of the same, but in this more of the same, it's building off nostalgia entirely. And I think, have you seen Pokemon Origins?
I actually have. Yes, yeah,
Yeah, so I have as well, and I think that was a pretty solid reboot of the series in terms of just kind of capturing nostalgia as well as appealing to those who, are still interested in kind of classic Pokemon type of feel. But now it just feels like there's too much of that where Kanto is starting to be really oversaturated.
yeah. I can agree with that. Yeah,
And that kind of goes in terms of both the games, because I mean, Pokemon Go for the longest time was just Kanto Pokemon.
yeah,
Um, and just in terms of the movie as well, it just seems like, there is a profitable margin in nostalgia, and I think Detective Pikachu, even to that extent, plays into it. But it really is in terms of they really want to just not only keep repeating this formula, but using the formula to appeal to nostalgia. And I don't think that that's entirely wrong because, like I said, there is that profit out there. But in the same sense, it kind of makes me less interested in checking it out.
yeah. The the one thing that I found funny about the reboot series or like the reboot movie franchise is that none of Ash's former partners are like his partners in the reboot. I guess continuity and such. They appear in the end credits in like a cool sequence that I saw that I watched the credits of the movie, like everybody does.
Yeah,
but
of course.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. But it was like a cool like where they actually had like all of Ash's past companions like in it and stuff, and there's like a really nice song, and I guess it's sung by Serena's voice actor as well. Or I could have just misheard that, but it is really cool. But so yeah, they don't appear in like the official continuity of the movie universe, except for Team Rocket, who has followed Ash from region to other worlds and now to completely new timelines and such. And that, to me, is like one of the most funny things is that they're honestly like Ash's inadvertently. They are Ash's they're his most loyal friends. They'll follow him to the ends of the world and beyond. So they are like the only continuing characters other than Ash and Pikachu into this new continuity, which I find.
Wait, so what is it? Jesse James Meowth, is Wobbuffet included?
I think he is. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But it's
I see. I have kind of an emotional attachment to Wobbuffet in the sense that I feel like he is the fourth member. Like there have been so many other just like additional like gag characters like Mime Jr. and then Chimecho and stuff. But Wobbuffet is a member. He's not a Pokemon. Well, he is a Pokemon,
Yeah.
but he is the fourth member of Team
they
Rocket.
turned him into a badass in X and Y. Like I said,
I know!
I didn't watch much of it, but like they turned him into like their trump card and such. Where like all of a sudden
like,
they're like he can reflect anything, absorb anything. It's like alrighty then. Well, they've been sleeping on him for the past 15 seasons. Where has he been?
Yeah, because I watched, I think, the first episode where, and like the motto and stuff, like the revision of the motto, where, they use him for like counter attacks, and I'm like, God damn, like, why haven't they been using him like this before? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
he's a legitimate, like, good team player
Yeah.
this way, and yeah, I love him. I just love him. All right. So with that said, discussing formula and stuff. How do you feel about the anime as a whole? Like, if you just kind of want to go through, um, just like your own personal opinions of maybe from Kanto to Diamond and Pearl.
So, of course, this is going to be like super biased because it's like the old like, well, I watched it when I was a kid, and so it must be good. Um,
Hmm.
but I do think like looking back on it, it was simply like a show to like just sit down and just enjoy, nothing more. Like I'm not
Hmm.
one of the people who's like I watch Pokemon for the story and such because
Hmm.
that's not a good. I mean, maybe for the movies, but not for the show because the show's all over
Yeah.
the place and such.
Yeah.
And but it was enjoyable in that sense. I mean, in what it's supposed to be as like a kid show and such. But I do think that earlier on it went more above and beyond than currently. But I'm not so sure if that's like just like a factor of they've either stopped trying or they've just dumbed it down or kind of like certain things where in the beginning you can do good character development and in the
Hmm.
beginning you can do like backstory episodes like those I remember like as a kid those were some of my favorite episodes was James's backstory episode where it's
Oh
like
yeah.
he's revealed to be like the son of these like rich parents who want him to marry this crazy girl and he had like a pet Growlithe that he loved and such and that's
Yeah.
also like where the famous scene where like James narrates his own death as a child and such.
He literally forgets that he didn't die
Yeah.
as a child.
So it's like stuff like that and stuff. Where
Yeah.
it's like so good, but you can only do that sort of thing once because it's backstory. And
Yeah.
unless you're like doing a reboot, you can't do backstory again, which I guess is like also why I'm less inclined to the new movies because like they did a reboot, but then they kind of just did the same thing again. They didn't change too much. They, if anything, they got rid of his friends, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that's that. Like looking back, that's why it might have been viewed better, or I remember it better, or just like I said, like the sake of character development. I remember Ash used to be like a cocky, really cocky guy and
Yeah.
such, and then he kind of like learned his lesson that he's gonna get beaten up so much, and now he's kind of just gotten numb to it.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but he doesn't evolve anymore. I don't think Ash has ever had a good character like actual arc again. Not even to say that like he might have like had it in the beginning was just simply like him gradually learning that he's not a master yet. But I think by
Yeah.
now he's kind of just accepted that he's never going to be and is just feeding off this false sense of hope. Um, but yeah, I don't know. How about you?
Yeah. So I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where I think I'm very divisive on it. I think a lot of the stuff from Kanto does have the strongest sense of character, and especially for Ash, like you said, he is an arrogant, cocky kid, and kind of dumb in the first season or first couple seasons, where I think about halfway through Johto, his character became like the nice every guy, and it's only gotten worse every season since then. Like, I'll even say that I think a lot of his character came from his original voice actor, where his new voice actor, which I, I feel bad bashing, but at the same time, I feel like ever since that transition came along, he's just been kind of the nice, bland, like really characterless guy who basically has no personality. And yeah, I think everybody kind of does have their strongest personality. Like you said, James's backstory and my personal favorite episode, uh, of the first few seasons is Meowth's backstory,
Oh
which I think
yeah,
was
yeah, that's
really,
another great one. Yeah.
and that's it. It's like a legitimately like when I think of Pokemon, I think of a random non sequitur story where Ash wants to get better and then he meets someone and they teach him something. Team Rocket shows up, they get beat, and then Ash is like, goodbye, we'll see you again someday. They never get seen
Yep.
again. That's what I think of when I think of a
Yep.
Pokemon episode. And
Yeah. And it's
so,
always been like that.
like,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, it ends so like always so nicely, and what I like about the Meowth backstory is it is just constant like sad stuff, and then it ends on a sad note. Even it ends with like Meowth looking at the moon, and he's like, maybe I forget the female Meowth's name, but he's like, maybe she's looking at the moon too, and it just like does like a slow pan out, and it's like, holy shit, like this is actually kind of like
Yeah,
emotional. Like
yeah,
and I think there's a lot of moments like that. Like the way I think about Pokemon is I think of it as a show that was written with the writer's intention that it would not go on forever. Like development was purposely, or hints of development were purposely included with the idea that, oh, maybe this will just be one series. I don't think they were expecting Pokemon Sun and Moon, like pre-planning
no,
that,
yeah, no,
like the anime version of that. Obviously not. So there are a lot of great moments like that, especially like I said in the first couple seasons. Like my favorite part about the James backstory episode is when he comes back and like Jesse and James have like the little moment on the Meowth balloon where like they're like, we don't, we're not rich or successful, but like at least like we're free and like we have each other. And it's like little nice moments like that. It's like you they really put in work to making you care for these characters, not only as individuals but also their relationships with each other. Like they really built on just having you invested in the characters, having you invested maybe not in the story but each character's arc. But the problem is they kept, you know the show keeps being successful, so they're not going to end it, but they need to choose different ways to take it. And obviously they need to take it in a different direction where it's like, all right, a 12-year-old probably, or maybe that's a little too young, like 13 or 14-year-old is going to stop watching the show. So we need to aim it at this generation and just do what we've been doing that has been successful. And that works. But at the same time, it does become stagnant in its development in terms of, I think season 1 and season 2 really had those stronger moments, and then they kind of just wean them out to make it kind of a cookie cutter show.
yeah, yeah. And
And
go ahead.
oh, sorry. So yeah, I would like to say that, and but honestly, and I've rewatched a lot of Pokemon throughout like the past 10 years, like a lot, just on the side. Um, I think if I had to pick any series that I would think is technically the best, I actually think the Advanced series or Hoenn is technically the best written.
You know, it's funny. I completely agree with that. And for the longest time, I thought it was the theme songs, because I know that like of course like the original theme song is everybody's favorite for the most part. But honestly, Advanced Battle is
Oh
is
yeah,
criminally underrated as a theme song.
it's a fucking jam.
Yeah,
I love
and
that
it's
one.
funny because like we're going back and forth about like Ash being like cocky at the start and then he kind of like evens out and stuff. Like that is the one theme. Like every other theme is about like, oh, like we're gonna be masters, we've got each other as friends and stuff. Follow our destinies and stuff. That's the one theme song that isn't. That's the one theme song that's just like, I can't lose, no matter what.
Yeah.
You're worse than me. I'm the best. It's like the one
Yeah,
outlier.
and he just looks cocky
Yeah,
throughout the
it
whole
starts
theme
with
song.
him like swiping under his nose and like the Pikachu like blowing up a stadium and stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah. Like fucking explosions going on around him while he's like, I'm the best.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny that like we said that like Ash isn't cocky by that anymore, but then there's that theme song. But no, I definitely agree that I do have like the fondest memories of the Advanced series, and I think once again like going back on like character development, I really like the dynamic between May and Max as like the and it is a rather overdone I guess like story on like all media and stuff where it's like the older sibling needs to look out for the younger sibling, and the younger sibling just desperately wants to prove themselves and such. But it was done.
Mm-hmm.
It was done very well, especially in like a world of Pokemon where like half the creatures in the world could kill you if they wanted to, but they don't. So I really like that dynamic, and I can't shake the feeling that they tried to recreate that in X and Y with Clement and Bonnie. I think her name is Clement and Bonnie.
Yeah, I know their faces. I don't know their names.
And maybe it's just because I found Bonnie absolutely annoying. But
Mhm.
I definitely like even like maybe even like sympathized with Max for a while there, because like Max isn't old enough to be a Pokemon trainer, and I remember for the longest time I was the last person in my friend group to get like a DS to play Pokemon with my friends and
Yeah.
such. So I don't know like how much of that is like me being like, God, Max, one of these days we'll be a Pokemon trainer as well. So
Yeah.
I do really remember just good things about the Advanced series, and of course, like I can't put my finger on like definitely why. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go with the theme song again.
I think now, I mean, for me, I believe it's kind of the writing actually got, not that the writing was ever bad, but I think the show as a whole took itself a little less seriously
No,
in a way, and they just kind of focus on the comedy writing, where I think a lot of the stuff with the main characters was still pretty bland. Like, again, a lot of it is cookie cutter plots, but it goes back. I mean, Team Rocket are my favorite
oh yeah,
characters in the Pokemon anime in general. Just as a whole, I think they have a really great dynamic, and I like how. I mean, even as a kid, I felt like I kind of, you want to root for Team
oh
Rocket.
yeah,
You want them to
you
win
do,
at least
yeah,
once,
yeah.
because they never get anything, and they're usually nice to each other. They usually are charismatic and caring, and they do have a little, like, have you ever seen Pokemon Chronicles?
Uh, Chronicles, is that different from Adventures?
So, Pokemon Chronicles was side stories about the side characters of Pokemon, and it was like, I think it was 26 episodes, and it was during the Advance series. So there would be like episodes solely about Misty or like Tracy. I mean, nobody wanted to see that, but they still did it. And then like one about like Brock's family or something like that.
No, I haven't seen this. No.
So it's actually, it's pretty good stuff. There's solo episodes about Team Rocket, and a lot of the time they are not villains in it. Like, for example, there's an episode where the townspeople, they end up in some town, and the people of the town think that they're angels for some reason. I think it's because they fall from the sky, and so they think it's a really weird story. But like, to make a long story short, so Team Rocket tries to prove to them that they're villains, but it doesn't work out, and so they actually end up becoming like heroes. And then James ends up like having a fling with like this chick in the town, and it's like it's actually like a really nice story. And James is like, you know, like, why don't we just stay here? Like, I think we'd like actually being good guys for once. And then something goes wrong, and a machine explodes, and then they blast off, and then they're like, let's just go back to stealing Pikachu. So nothing goes anywhere, but at the same time, it's just a nice example of moments where like these aren't bad people, and they do shitty things, but they're not bad people, and it just, it works really well that way. And I think Hoenn was really just the writers at Four Kids really coming together and working with everything they've worked with so far, and just boiling it down into a pretty well written and well executed show, even if they still had that like stagnancy and they weren't really moving forward with anything. They still gave it their all for what they had.
Yeah, Yeah, I can agree with that. And I wonder if like kind of like if we could call it like the decline after Hoenn, like we view Hoenn as the peak. I wonder if that even has like anything to do with the voice acting, because you brought that up earlier that Ash's current voice actor um, is like or might be partially responsible for like just like how his like character is just like flatlined and such. Because I'm pretty sure it's during the end of Hoenn that the all the voice actors had to change, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now it was the voice actors and the entire writing staff. So I'm pretty positive that like but voice acting definitely had a big part in it because I I hate to just pick on people for what like I'm sure the people working with the Pokemon company right now and providing the English voices are giving it their all, but God, like Ash just sounds so bored whenever he talks. It everybody sounds just like it sounds like an online like internet parody of Pokemon where they just like got random people to do it. And in general, I think the writing suffered in the same sense that it was very baseline what they understood about Pokemon. It got a lot nicer. It got a lot more safe. Again, tying back to what we were talking about with the games. So it all kind of adds up into one consistent like theme of just I think it's been dumbed down a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that was kind of the start of just Ash being a polite, boring, bland character. Team Rocket became basically just talking in alliteration, like that was their joke.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, I can't pinpoint exactly what it is that just turned me off about it. The voices was definitely one thing because I don't think they were anywhere near, not even just anywhere near. I just think that voice actors basically are their characters. So if you switch them all up, like I think Gary was the only one who kept his original voice.
Oh,
It,
we
it
haven't seen Gary since like
oh yeah, so
2010
that
though.
yeah, does now I Ash had the rival in Diamond and Pearl who just like was an
Oh
asshole.
yeah.
I don't even know if he's had a rival since. So
I think there
I
was one
really
in black
think
and
it
white.
just okay. There was one in black and white. Okay, yeah. I really think it just all ties into what went wrong with not only the anime but with the games in some aspect. But I mean, the games are still fun and I enjoy them for the most part. But I think it really ties down to a theme of just dumbing stuff down and making things a lot nicer and safer.
Yeah. So I guess I have the question because we talked about it also with the games is like should that be like the route they go? I mean, like obviously it's a kids show, obviously it's a kids game and such, and I mean a generation as far as like series goes lasts around like 3 4 seasons, which I mean realistically might be like the full duration of a kid's interest in Pokemon. So you get that like that nice reset if everything lines up. Whenever somebody like exits that age range. So I guess should it even like try to be something more, or should it just like be satisfied with what it is? Is like, well, the kids watch it, and that's really what we're going for, so we'll just leave it at that. Or should it actually try and retain more people after they exit that target audience bracket?
It's a tough question because I never like to just excuse something like, oh, it's a kid show, like it's not aimed at me, so I can't criticize it
Yeah,
or even remotely like analyze it in any which way, but I don't think it's fair for me to look at it now the way I would look at it 10 years ago. Because the way I look at it now, I mean, I would probably not watch Sun and Moon, like binge watch Sun and Moon on any level, but I'm guessing a lot of it is kind of what I liked about Pokemon when I was a kid. So I think it is fair in looking at it in terms of this is working, it works for children, and we find a new target audience every year. Where a show like The Simpsons is for the same people and it's rehashing a lot of the same stuff it did before, and it's still trying to reach and appeal to the same target audience, where Pokemon's doing the same thing, but it's rebranding and evolving
Yeah.
along the
At
way.
least it has
So
like new characters, kind of, sort of.
yeah,
Okay.
so I really don't know, because if Pokemon were to have a continuing story arcs in that sense, I don't know if I would tune in and watch it. The way I look at Pokemon now is it's very much a full house kind of show where I can put it on and I can turn my brain off entirely. Like there is no thinking required when watching Pokemon. It is very much just a light, like, enjoyable show to put on when nothing else is on, and I can kind of just, do something on the side if I wanted to while watching it. So it's very much, I don't think it has to change because, well, one, I mean, for what it is, it's working. It's never going to. I can't imagine it ever stopping or ever stopping its formula because it's a formula that works. I guess I'm gonna kind of reflect the same question you asked me back at you, but do you think this is a formula that's genius or really cheap and kind of phony?
So, I mean, I have to agree with you. I do side on like more of like it's cheap, but like coming from like a viewer standpoint and such, I'm sure like if I got into the business world, I'd be like it's genius and such.
Yeah.
Because I like bathe in dollar bills, but
Yeah.
it does really come off as just it's like they know they can get away with it, so it's like why even like they've hit the bare minimum, I guess. And like they're not even like branching out more. Like they've gotten to the point where like I don't think Ash even has like a rival anymore and such, which is something that they even like continued from like longer than the games, because even though I really like Black and White because it's like unique take on rivals where it's like yeah they're your friends, but like one friend like really wants to beat you and such, and he's like a good Sharon is a good rival, whereas like there in the anime, like Ash retains jerk rivals for far longer than the games do. And now he doesn't even have one. Now they've lost that. And I know that like the creators have come out and just said they're like, we don't want like jerks in the world of Pokemon. So it's like have, kind of just confirming it's like we're gonna have like friendly rivals basically forever now. And the other thing that they said was, oh well, if Ash ever wins the Pokemon League, his journey would be over and there would be no more show. And I can't agree with that because I mean
that is a very minimalist point of view.
Because I mean if there's anything that like Pokemon is as far as like it recycling itself is like if there is a theme to take away from Pokemon, it is that you can always learn something else. And that's why Ash is like constantly always doing this journey, is on top of like him wanting to still be a master and stuff. That's like he rises to the top every season and then falls back down the next and such. But he does it with like the explanation. He's like, well, I can still learn. And if learning means giving up your entire god tier Poke, you could fuse with a Pokemon Ash. Why would you let him loose?
Yeah.
So like, if he became a master, that's all he'd have to say, and then the show would continue.
Yeah.
Because I do truly think though that without Ash, the show wouldn't continue. He's become a staple of the show. If like Pokemon, like I hadn't even heard of Pokemon Chronicles and such, but I know that there's like another group of episodes that takes place around Black and White and X and Y, where there's a few like side episodes. I know like Cillian and Brock meet each other for one, but those I don't think even got dubbed into English and such. So it's like,
okay, yeah. So basically, they're not even going to
yeah,
try.
they're not even,
if
yeah, exactly.
Ash isn't tied to it.
Yeah. So I mean, I will agree that like without Ash, there would be no show. But
Mhm.
I do really wish that he'd like win at least once and such. And if the games prove anything, is that if you hit master, that's not the end. There will still be a girl on the street who challenges you with a teddy bear that is somehow 10 levels stronger than your champion killing Pokemon. It's like, all right, well, you know, you've missed your calling, kid. But so it is kind of like frustrating in that sense that they've basically said that they're going to stick to their status quo. But I do truly believe that it wouldn't even change anything if they didn't.
You know what? I'm gonna retract my statement that I mentioned to you because I think Pokemon for kids, not for kids like the company, like for
Yeah,
children,
yeah,
is I think it challenges them to watch episode by episode and see the story continue. And I think that was something I really appreciated as a kid because I think I started watching Pokemon in like second grade, which was around the time Avatar came out. So I was I was more kind of impressed with shows that had episode by episode continuity where I mean Pokemon wasn't much, but you still wanted to see where Ash was in his, gym experience,
yeah,
how he was progressing, what new Pokemon he got. You still kind of had to watch every episode. Kind of not, but you still did. So I think it is kind of not challenging in the way that it could be because it's already asking kids to watch episode by episode to see what happens. So what like I don't see why they feel like they can't take it one step further.
no,
Do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
no, I completely agree. Yeah.
That was our Pokemon discussion. Thank you all for joining us today. There will be no podcast next week, but the week after, we'll dish out some new stuff. So, thank you for joining us again. Any final words, Troy?
None from me. No. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.